Lung. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Nitai Jaya Gaur Jaya Nitai Jaya Gaur Jaya Nitai Jaya Gaur Jaya Nitai Jaya Gaur. Oh Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Sachinandan Jaya Gaura. Oh Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radha Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radha Gopinatha Radhe Radha Gopinatha Radha Gopinatha Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Oh Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhapi Giri Hari Radha Binod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottara Sarashishi Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottara Sarashishi Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottara Sarashishi Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottara Sarashishi Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Mahabhagavat Shila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Vidimunamana Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And unto our beloved Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Namo Bhakti Vinodaya, Satchidananda Namine, Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate, and all the illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Hare Krishna. So, continuing with our study of Jaiva Dharma, and we'll read the Falshruti again. I think it's very, very helpful to read the Falshruti because it encapsulates all the essential truths that are going to be propounded in this Jaiva Dharma. The essential truth is that don't go for Nirvishesh Brahm, don't go for Mayavad, try to understand that we're not the body, try to appreciate what is Shuddha Bhakti and what is that eternal relationship. So that is the principle That is each time. So, which ones are we up to? The last. Okay. Jaiva Dharma pate se Shura Bhakti hoy. Jaiva Dharma na padile kabe bhakti noy.
One who reads Jaiva Dharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva Dharma can never attain Bhakti.
Why can't you attain bhakti if you don't ever read Jaiva Dharma? Because it means you're not actually coming in touch with the essential bhakti sar, the truth of devotion. If you don't read Jaiva Dharma, then you won't come in touch. Of course, you can get that from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, but here we are discussing Jaiva Dharma. If we're not favorable to reading Jaiva Dharma, this means we're not favorable to the essence, to the goal. The goal is bhakti. Actually, the goal is bhakti ras. This is the goal, because the last 14 chapters will bring out the rasa tattva aspect. So without all of these connecting, sambandha, abhideya, and prayojan, then how will we understand what is bhakti? You won't understand what is bhakti. This Jaiva Dharma has to be absorbed with faithful deliberation. How does one get faith? By associating with devotees. We've heard, especially in the last 3 or 4 or 5 days, very much Bhaktivinoda Thakur is stressing in the Jivas liberated from Maya is sadhu sangha. All the time it's sadhu sangha is being referenced as the place where we can absorb these truths and go forward. Rupanuga abhiman pate drita hoy, Jaiva dharma vimukha ke dharma hina hoy.
Faithfully reading Jaiva Dharma will surely strengthen one's abhiman as Rupanuga, follower of Sri Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles.
Yes, because this propounds religious principles all the way through. The truths that we're hearing and specifically the references that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings in constantly. Today in particular, there are going to be so many references to the Shastra all the way through. Everything has to have praman. The first part of that Dasamula Shloka, Amnaya Praha, that means the praman. If it doesn't have praman, then it has no real value. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings in so much praman from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Upanishads, from so many different places. This is our only refuge, is to connect with Shastra. Otherwise, we're going to be speculating. The mind can go all over the place, hear a little bit of that, hear a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Where are we going to know what is the actual truth? But if we take shelter of Shastra, the Shastra itself will direct us to that supreme destination. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is stressing on. This is more or less saying, if you're not interested in Shastra, then you're not interested in following the religious principles. This is what he's saying here. Is certainly devoid of religious principles if you're not interested in Shastra. So this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. Yava jivane jay pade jaiva dharma, bhakti manase janabrita jnana karma.
One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of jnana and karma.
So again, I just say we have this beautiful verse, Anyavilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. Jnana karmadi anavritam. Our path is not Gyan Kand. It's not Karma Kand. This is not our path. Previously, well, actually today, I watched the news today and I saw that every topic is either Artha or Karma. There's practically no mention of Dharma, minimal, and no mention of Moksha. The whole world is under this illusion of just Karma and Artha, just activities that will produce wealth, economic development, isn't it? This is what everyone is just thinking about, that. How can they enjoy their senses? But for the bhakta, he completely turns a corner on that. And he's praying to have the wisdom and the strength to leave his own abhiman, his own material identity, sitting parked somewhere, and try to clearly appreciate he has an inner being, his soul, and his soul to be connected to that Supreme Lord. And the only way to connect is through service, through seva. And we have all the examples in Shastra that we were just talking about. And the highest example in Shastra are the gopis of Vrindavan. They gave up everything. They had no desire for their own happiness. They only wanted to please Krishna. I'm saying this so many times that they were not looking for their own pleasure. It's like even when they run to the forest, they very quickly dress themselves in a very haphazard way. One earring on, another gone. They put their necklaces on their waist. They put their armlets on their feet, all dressing, sometimes even the bottom cloth on the top and the top cloth on the bottom. Why were they doing this? It wasn't just they were rushing. They were doing this because they knew Krishna would love to rearrange their dress for them. And this they felt great intimacy from. When they arrived all looking in a disheveled condition, Krishna sometimes just eye makeup on just one eye, etc. Krishna, he could see by that mood of their eagerness to be with him. And he took great pleasure in rearranging all of their dresses, etc. And the gopis, this mood of relationship with Krishna, through Krishna serving them. Krishna wants to serve the gopis, and the gopis want to serve Krishna. This is pure love. It's not love like in a material conditioned marriage, for example. As soon as the wife decides she doesn't really want to serve the husband fully, there's divorce. And something like 70, 80, 90% of the people in the world today, I'd say 80%, 85%, go through the divorce. Certainly in the Western world. In India, it's a little bit different. But still in India, it's becoming very prominent also. As soon as one stops giving to the other, because they're only in this relationship for what they can actually get out of it. If you think about the various friendships that you have in the world, you have those friendships because you're feeling you're benefited from it. That's why you have the friendship, because you're feeling nourished from the friendship. It's not common that the person is just giving everything to you and you're also giving everything to them. That's not so common. The closest example we get of that is a mother to a child, especially a newborn child. But the distinction is that the mother will do that for her child. She won't do that for every child in the street. So where is that pure love? It doesn't exist in the material world at all. And as soon as we wake up to that fact and realize that, because it's pure love that we're seeking. We should read the next verse because this is
Krishnera
Krishnera
Amal
mala seva
Seva
labi
Labi
se
Se
nara
Nara
seva
Seva
sukhe
Sukha Magna
magna
Rahe
sada
Sada
Krishna
Krishna
para.
Para. Such a man, being fully devoted to Sri Sri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service.
Yes, you remain forever merged in the bliss of this service. That is the position for the sadhak who really comes to Krishna. He remains ecstatic all the time in a mood of dedication to pleasing his Lord. And then Krishna will reciprocate. Krishna loves to serve his bhaktas. Aham bhakta paradino. He reveres his bhaktas as those supreme, worshipable personality. Krishna says himself that I don't even want to live unless I can have this relationship. And all of these relationships are discussed most beautifully in the Shastra. These really subtle points. For example, there are 3 types of relationships with Krishna's beloveds. The first is called Sadharani. Sadharani Rati. Rati is another word for Bhav. So this relationship of Sadharani is by Kubja. Kubja, that hunchback, she was bent in 7 different places. And Krishna, he just put his hand under her chin and picked her up, and immediately she became like a beautiful woman. She had beautiful face, and she was immediately attracted to Krishna. She was attracted to Krishna for her pleasure. But it's considered a respectable state to be described in these 3 positions, because her only attraction was to Krishna. It was to no other man. She was never attracted to Kamsa. If you remember the pastime, she was carrying all the scents, etc., the oils, when Krishna came to Mathura. And actually, this is compared to Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, who was deformed because of the warring armies on the planet. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes like that. So when Krishna straightened up her hunchback, etc., then her first desire was to enjoy Krishna. But still, it's given a place of respectable rati, because it was only Krishna. Then the next type is Samanjasa Rati. This Samanjasa Rati are the queens of Dwarka. But their love can't control Krishna. Their love is they reach the stage called Anurag. This is across the threshold of Prem. They're exalted personalities. Actually, they're all gopis from Vrindavan manifesting in Dwarka. That's who they are. Rukmini is Chandravali, etc. Satyabhama is Radha. But their rati doesn't control Krishna. Why? Because they have 10 sons and they have 1 daughter. So their love is compromised. They also give their love to their sons and daughters. So this is Samanjasa Rati. But then the love of the gopis, they have no one else except Krishna. This is called Samartha Rati. This will control Krishna. So hearing these topics, become inspired by these topics, will lead us closer to an appreciation, a mood of Krishna, and what is my affection towards him. Can I, in this life, at least appreciate the mood of the gopis, at least appreciate their Sharanagat mood, their complete dedication for Krishna's pleasure. This is this Amal Prem Seva that's been referenced at the end here. So we should think like that. Gradually, try to understand always we are in the Anugatya of the gopis, particularly the Manjaris, and particularly Rupa Manjari. And his disappearance day is coming very, very soon on Monday. So we should be thinking Rupa Goswami consciousness now, be preparing for it. My Gurudev used to say to all his followers, I want to wind you up to get you prepared. He would say, like before Kartik, 10, 12 days before Kartik, he would start to wind everybody up. We're coming into the month of Kartik, such an exceptional month. And now we're coming to the Tirabhav of Rupa Goswami. There are so many videos, etc., coming about Rupa Goswami. So we should be absorbing his truth in preparation for Monday. Okay, so we've come to page 417.
415.
415. Did we read this translation? None of the activity. So we talked about Vivartavad, and we've talked about Mayavad, which are basically the same. It's described that Buddhism is covered Mayavadism. So this has been our topic. And it's a very, very important topic for our own purification and for our contribution in the world to try and purify others' misconceptions about these topics. Okay? So you did that last verse, the Svetashvarta Upanishad on page 415?
No, Maharaj, we have to start from there.
From where?
That shloka. We have not read that shloka. Na tasya karyam
Oh,
karanam cha.
okay. So just, we were talking about the Mahavakyas yesterday.
Hmm.
So the first Mahavakya teaches that the whole universe consisting of the living beings and non-living matter is Brahm. Nothing exists that is not Brahm. The identity of that Brahm is explained elsewhere. So this is our topic. Okay.
Na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Na tat samas chabhyadikas cha drishyate. Parasya shaktir vividai shruyate. Swabhavika jnanam balakriyacha. Shvetashvatara Upanishad. None of the activities of that Parabrahma, Paramatma, is mundane, because none of his senses, such as his hands and legs, is material. Thus, through the medium of his transcendental body, he performs his pastimes without any material senses,
No material senses. Everything about Krishna is transcendental.
and he is present everywhere at the same time. Therefore, no one is even equal to him, what to speak of being greater than him. The one divine potency of Parameshwara has been described in Shruti in many ways, among which the description of his Gyan Shakti, knowledge, his Bal Shakti, power, and his Kriya Shakti, potency for activity, are most important. These are also called Chit or Samvit Shakti, Sat Shakti or Sandhini Shakti, and Ananda Shakti or Hladini Shakti, respectively.
So we discussed much of this in chapter 14 on Shakti Tattva, these particular Shaktis, etc., and how they interact with each other and what they represent. Like the Sat is the existence potency. So that existence potency doesn't exist in the Brahmajyoti. There's no existence. It's just an illumination of light. It's just the knowledge and vairagya that is there. And then Paramatma has existence. So that has Sat and Chit. And Bhagavan has all three, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So we discussed this.
Brahm and his Shakti are accepted as non different from each other. In fact, this Shakti is said to be an inherent part of Brahm, which is manifested in different ways. From one point of view, it may be said that nothing is different from Brahm, for the potency and the possessor of potency are non different. However, when we look at the material world, we can see that in another sense, Brahm and his Shakti are certainly different.
So this is like this achintya aspect, simultaneously one and different at the same time.
Nityo nityanam chetanam eko bahunam yo vidadati kamana. Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. He is the one supreme eternal being among all eternal beings, and the one supreme conscious being among all conscious beings. He alone is fulfilling the desires of everyone.
He's inspiring everyone's desires to be fulfilled, but it's Shakti that is actually going to be fulfilling those desires. He is desiring that, but it's Shakti that is arranging that. It's his energy that arranges it, not Krishna, but he sanctions it.
This statement from the Vedas accepts
Variegatedness.
variegatedness within the eternally existing substance Vastu, Brahm. It separates the Shakti potency from Shaktiman, the possessor of the potency, and then it considers his Gyan, knowledge, Bal, power, and Kriya activities. Now let us consider the second Mahavakya, Prajnanam Brahma. The supreme knowledge is Brahm, Aittreya Upanishad. Here it is said that Brahm and consciousness are identical. The word prajnanam, which in this sentence is said to be one with Brahm, is also used in Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, where it is used to mean prem bhakti. Tam eva dhiro vijnana prajnanam kurvati brahmanah.
You see, he's demonstrating how Sankaracharya has pulled these four statements out of Shastra. But now, when you actually put them into a different context, it means prem. Previously, it was indicating the impersonal conception. But when collectively understood through the other aspects of scripture, then it becomes prem. It's completely different. But this is Sankaracharya's brilliance. This is not actually a fault. This is the brilliance of Sankaracharya. This is what Babaji is actually highlighting. He's showing the deficiency in his teachings, but at the same time, he's honoring the brilliance of his teachings to actually trick so many millions of people into accepting a Mayavad doctrine. And that was the purpose of Sankaracharya.
When a steady and sober person attains knowledge of Brahm, he worships him with genuine loving feelings. Jnana Swarupa Prema Bhakti. The third Mahavakya is Tattvam Asi Shvetaketu. O Shvetaketu, you're that. Chandogya Upanishad. This shloka gives instruction on oneness with Brahm, which is more elaborately described in Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad as follows.
Again, he's purifying the misconception. This is a very prominent philosophy, this Advaitavad. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is taking time to purify this philosophy. So he's giving all the Shastric evidence for us to appreciate fully that this is an inferior, this is not actually bhakti, this Advaitavad.
Yova etad aksharam gargi avidit vasmal lokat prayati sa kripanaha. Ya etad aksharam gargi viditvasmal lokat prayati sa brahmanaha. O Gargi, those who live this material world without understanding the eternal Vishnu are kripanaha, externally miserly, extremely miserly or degraded. Whereas those who live this material world in knowledge of that supreme eternal are actually Brahmanas, knower of Brahma.
Mhm.
The words Tattvam Asi therefore mean he who gains true knowledge eventually attains devotional service to Parabrahma, and he is to be known as Brahmana.
Pure knowledge.
Hmm.
Pure knowledge is only devotion to Bhagavan.
The fourth Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahma. Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. If the Vidya that is established in this Vakya does not become Bhakti in the end, then it is thoroughly condemned in Sri Ishopanishad, which says, and Anandam Tamah Pravishyanti ye Vidyam Upasate Tato Bhuya e Iva Te Tamo Ya Yu Vidyayam Rataha. Those who are situated in ignorance enter deep darkness, and those who are in knowledge enter deeper darkness still. This mantra means that those who embrace ignorance and do not know the spiritual nature of the soul enter the darkest regions of ignorance. However, the destination of those who reject ignorance but who believe that Jeev is Brahm and not a spiritual atom is far worse.
Yes, if you actually believe you're God himself, that is far worse than the ignorance of just not addressing your real identity. If you don't know, okay. But then if you actually start to claim that you are that Brahm, that you are that supreme, then you go to the deepest hell. You go to the deepest hell in the sense that everything, you can go to the deepest hell while you're in this world. in the sense that everything becomes confusing all the time in life. It just becomes problematic everywhere. If you actually think that you are the center constantly all the time, you're constantly bombarded with difficulties. But as soon as you submit and accept Krishna as that supreme, your life becomes completely sublime and smooth. So we have to consider our own journey. If everything is very smooth, and this is meaning that we're actually connecting with the essence of devotion. But if everything is really, really difficult, and I keep coming into obstructions and so on, this is my own inability to appreciate my actual constitutional position as a servant of Krishna. So, and the destination is hell. Saying, Baba.
Baba, the Vedas have no shoreline and are unsurpassed. Their precise meaning can only be understood by studying each and every shloka of the Upanishads separately and by deriving the meaning from all of them combined.
Yes, it has to. You can't take these. He's addressing the point about the Mahavakyas. You can't take them out singularly, and he's explained them all, what they actually are meaning, and then he's put them together with other aspects of Shastra to get the context of where they're being presented, rather than just isolate them.
If one singles out a particular sentence, he may always be diverted by some misinterpretation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore investigated all the Vedas thoroughly and then preached that the individual spirit souls and the material world are simultaneously and inconceivably one with Sri Hari and different from him.
This is the philosophy of Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. So it's beautifully described here by Babaji.
Vrajanath, I understand that the Vedas establish the teaching of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Will you please explain this more clearly with proofs from the Vedas themselves? Babaji, here are some of many passages that describe the oneness aspect, Abheda Tattva, of.
When we hear these from the scriptural aspect, it makes a very deep impression in our consciousnesses, because the Shastric evidence is very profound and it makes an imprint in the consciousness. So even if we don't follow them completely, but it's making an impression there that we're actually appreciating the significance of this truth, this tattva, this Chintya Beda Beda tattva.
Here are some of the many passages that describe the oneness aspect, Abheda Tattva, of Beda Abheda Tattva. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, Chandogya Upanishad. Everything in this world is certainly Brahm. Atmaivedam Sarvam Iti, Chandogya Upanishad. Everything that is visible is spirit, Atma.
It's all coming, it's all prakriti, it's all manifesting. It all has its origin in spirit. But when we start to think we are that spirit, that's the illusion. That's the Mayavad, that's the Vivartavad.
Sad eva saumedam agra asid ekam eva dvitiyam, Chandogya Upanishad. One, O gentle one, this world initially existed in a non dual, spiritual form, and before the manifestation of this universe, the Supreme Spirit was just a non dual substance.
That's the Pradhan.
Hmm. Evam sa devo bhagavan varenyo yoni swabhavan adhishtati ekaha. Bhagavan Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Bhagavan himself is the master of all, even of the Devatas, and is the only one who is worthy of worship. He is the cause of all causes. But he himself remains unaltered, just as the sun remains stationary while spreading its radiance in all directions.
So it can't be Vastu Parinamvad, which means that the Vastu is transforming. This is saying here. Krishna is the source and he remains the same. It's his Shakti that is transforming.
Now listen to the mantras that support Bheda, difference. Om Brahma Vida Apnoti Param, Taittariya Upanishad. One who understands Brahm attains the Parabrahm. Mahantam Vibhum Atmanam Matvadhiro Na Sochati, Katha Upanishad. A sober, intelligent person does not lament even on seeing a soul confined in a material body, because he knows that the soul is great and present everywhere.
Hmm.
Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam. First Anuched of Taittiriya Brahmanda Vali. Brahma Brahm is truth, knowledge, and eternity personified. Eternity personified. That Brahm is situated in the spiritual sky, Param Vyoma, and is also present in the depth of all living entities' hearts. One who knows this attains Siddhi through his relationship with that indwelling supersoul, Antaryami, the omniscient Brahm.
So appreciate the distinction here that sometimes Brahm is being referenced to the Brahmajyoti, and sometimes, like here, Brahm is referenced to the complete Shakti of Krishna, or not Shakti, but the complete embodiment of Krishna, of everything that exists is Brahm. So there's a distinct. Sometimes it's not always presented the same way. You have to be appreciate. That's why Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada always used the word Brahman to describe the Brahmajyoti, because it makes it easier. Here it's not talking about the Brahmajyoti, it's talking about Brahm, it's talking about or Tat. We say in the Gayatri Mantra, Om Bu Bhuva Swa Tat. That Tat signifies the entirety of Krishna. So this is like in that sense here, that Brahm is existing in every particle of existence.
Yasmat param na param asti kinchit. Shvetashvatara Upanishad. There is no truth superior to that supreme person. He is smaller than the smallest, the greater than the greatest. He stands alone, immovable like a tree, in a self effulgent abode. This entire universe rests within that one supreme person.
These are beautiful verses to absorb, to appreciate.
Pradhana Kshetrajna Patir Guneshah. Shvetashvatara Upanishad. The Parabrahm is the Lord of the unmanifested material nature, Pradhan, the master of that Paramatma who knows all the individual living entities, and the Ishvara of the three abodes of material nature. He is himself transcendental to the modes of material nature.
This is like Vedanti Tat Tattva Vedas Tattvam Yajnanam Advaya Brahma
Brahman, Brahmeti Parama.
Brahmameti Paramatma Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
This three progression is all the supreme.
Tasyaisa Atma Vivarnute Tanum Swam, Katha Upanishad. He reveals his body only to those people in a very particular way.
Mm.
Tam Ahur Agrayam Purusham Mahantam. Those who know the absolute truth chant his glories, knowing him to be Mahan, Adi Purusha, the great personality, and the cause of all causes. Yata Yatatya Yato Ratan Vyadatataha. Ishopanishad. By his inconceivable potency, he maintains the separate identities of all the eternal elements along with their particular attributes.
Mm.
Naitad ashakam vignatum yad etad yaksham iti. Kena Upanishad. Agni Dev, the Devata of fire, said to the assembled Devatas, I cannot fully comprehend the identity of this Yaksha. Asad Vai idam agra asit. Taittiriya Upanishad. In the beginning, this universe was just an unmanifested form of Brahm. This unmanifest became manifest in the form of Brahm. That Brahm manifested himself in male form. For this reason, That male form is known as the creator. Nityo Nityanam, Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Who is the supreme eternal being among all the eternal beings? Sarvam hi etad brahmyam atma brahma soyam atma chatuspat. All this is a manifestation of the inferior potency of Brahm. The spiritual form of Krishna is none other than the Parabrahm. By his inconceivable potency, he eternally manifests himself in four nectarian forms, even though he is one. Ayab Atma Sarvesham Bhutanam Madhu. Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. The Vedas speak about Krishna in an indirect way by describing his attributes. And here they say that among all living beings, it is only Krishna himself who is sweet like nectar.
Mm. This is the distinction between um, Dwakadish Krishna and Brajendrananda and Shamsunda in Braj. That Krishna is so sweet, in fact, and at the same time, he's that supreme Lord in Dwarka. All of these inconceivable distinctions, and yet it's one. It's very simple to appreciate. The easiest way I find to appreciate is like a candle. A candle has three aspects to it, but it's one candle. The candle has the flame, the heat, and the light, but it's still one candle. So Krishna has these distinct energies, the Shakti and the Brahmajyoti, or the Brahman, or the Brahman. It has these three Shakti potencies, but it's still the one. This is the verse that Ganesh, who was writing the Bhagavatam, could not appreciate. It's called Vyasadeva Kuta. It's like a puzzle. Kuta means puzzle, because they had an agreement, Vyasadeva and Ganesh, that Vyasadeva would not stop writing. Ganesh said, Vyasadeva approached Ganesh to write his Bhagavatam. Ganesh said, I'll do it so long as you don't stop speaking, so long as you just a continual flow. And Vyasadeva responded, yes, I'll do that so long as you understand everything that I'm saying. But when he got to this verse, just in the second chapter, this Vedanti Tat Tattva Vedasta, then Ganeshji, he couldn't understand. You're saying that Krishna is all these three potencies, and yet Krishna is one? He couldn't understand, because actually Ganeshji is from the Swagaloka. And in Swagaloka, we've said many times, their spiritual master is Brihaspati. So he is Brahman realized. He doesn't go beyond the Brahman. So for Ganeshji to appreciate this oneness of Krishna, he couldn't do it, and he breaks his pen in frustration, and then he breaks a tusk off his mouth and continues the Bhagavatam with that tusk. So this is not so easy to understand, but if you think of the candle, I find that example most easy. The flame, the heat, and the light, they're all distinct. And the two of them are completely dependent on the flame. The flame is not dependent on the heat or the light. It's independent. It has its own independent existence. So this is what's being described as the greatness of Krishna himself. He's the origin, the source. And from him are coming these other aspects of the Shakti and the Brahman effulgence. So I think the candle example is very simple. And we can say the same for the sun too.
In these and countless other passages, the Vedas declare that the individual souls are eternally different from the Supreme. Every part of the Vedas is wonderful, and no portion of them can be neglected. It is true that the individual jivas are eternally different from the Supreme, and it is also true that they are eternally non different from the Supreme. We can find evidence in the Vedas to support both Bhed, difference, and Abhed, non difference, because Bhed and Abhed exist simultaneously as aspects of the absolute truth. This relationship of the Jivas with the Supreme as simultaneously one with Him and different from Him is inconceivable and beyond mundane intelligence. Logic and arguments about the matter only lead to confusion.
Yes, don't try and bring intelligence and analysis into this, because our intelligence is limited by time and space. And this conception, I said the other day, is beyond time and space. So we cannot understand it with our conditioned logic, which depends on time and space. How is it possible? We actually have to come to that place of transcendence. And to come to that place, it's a matter of appreciation. We have to appreciate. I'm just thinking that in the Bhagavatam, in the fourth Chatushloki, in the second canto, the Yatamahani Bhutani, Bhuteshu cha Anesha Anu, Pravisyati Apravisyani Tata Teshu Na Teshu Aham. This is the fourth Chatushloki, and it's saying the five great elements of material creation, earth, water, etc., enter into the bodies of all living entities. These five great elements are within the body of all living entities, high and low, for the demigods and subhuman species. But at the same time, these elements exist independently. There's still these five bhutas are there, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, in their own state, but they're also existing within the bodies of all living entities. It's like one and at the same time. Um, Similarly, I have entered into all living entities as the supersoul, but at the same time, I am situated independently in my own swarup, and I appear to my surrendered devotees both internally and externally. So this is a verse supporting the same truths that have been said here. So this is one of the Chatushlokis. So in this Chatushloki, the same conception, in fact, of a Chintya Beta Beta is there. This is the fourth of the Chatushlokis. This is verse 35, 2935. You can examine that, and that's at Chatushloki. So this philosophy is not a new philosophy, is not a new, but Mahaprabhu has brought it to the forefront because of the misconceptions in the Sampradayas. When this Bhagavatam was actually first written 5,000 years ago, the Sampradayas were not present at that time. These Sampradayas only manifested, Ramanuja was the first one. Ramanuja manifested in 1035. That's that's 3,000 years after the Bhagavatam was actually written. So these Sampradayas were not, they didn't need to be there. They didn't need to be supported because there was no smell of Mayavad prior to that. That wasn't there, these topics. There were certainly demons with asuric natures, but this conception of Mayavad never existed in the Vedas, that I am that God. Men would try to be like God, like Hiranyakashipu, etc., controlling all the world and so on. But ultimately, this is never supported in Shastra, whereas Sankaracharya is trying to bring this into Shastra. But it was already there in the Bhagavatam, in that verse that I've just read, this 2:9:35. You can see the parallel. Okay, just back up a little bit because maybe that was a bit of a sidetrack. This relationship of the jivas with the Supreme is simultaneously one with him and different from him, is inconceivable and beyond mundane intelligence. That's what I've just described.
Logic and arguments about the matter only lead to confusion.
Mm.
Whatever has been said in the various parts of the Vedas is all true, but we cannot understand the complete meaning of those words because our intelligence is very limited.
Mm.
That is why we should never disregard Vedic teachings.
Yes, we have to have this. This is purifying any speculative desire that we may have to try and understand these conceptions. Just accept what Scripture is saying with a bowed head, and then it'll be manifest very easily.
Naisha Tarkena Matir Apaneya Katha Upanishad. Nachiket, Nachiketa, It is not proper to use argument to destroy the wisdom of the absolute truth that you have received.
Argument means logic. Argument means debate, etc.
Naham manye suvedati no na vedati veda cha. Kena Upanishad. I don't think that I have thoroughly understood Brahm. These Vedic mantras give clear instruction that the Shakti of the Ishvara is inconceivable and hence beyond mundane reasoning.
Therefore, we have to have Krishna's mercy. We have to have Mahaprabhu's mercy. This should make us very enthusiastic for the mercy to appreciate what's being spoken here. We need mercy. We can't do it with our own tiny conditioned material intelligence and even enthusiasm. We need mercy. Mercy is going to come from seva, from service to Guru, to our Guru Parampara, to the Holy Dham, to the Vaishnavas, to Prasad, to Thakurji. So many areas where we can do service. Without service, none of this will really make service to Nam in particular. Always say, and then the mercy will be invoked from Krishna. And then we will have some opportunity to appreciate it more deeply, but not understand it until we leave this body. This body is bound. It's conditioned by the three modes of material nature. We can understand that to the degree of siddha, but it's when vastu siddhi, when we leave this body, then we can actually appreciate this.
Mahabharata says, Puranam manavo dharma sangha vedan chikitsitam ajnanam siddhani chatvari na hantyavayami hetubihi. The Satvata Puranas, the Dharma instructed by Manu, the Shadanga Veda, and Chikitsa Shastra are the authentic orders of the Supreme, and it is improper to try to refute them by mundane arguments. Thus, it is quite clear that the Vedas support the Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Bearing in mind the ultimate goal of the Jiva, it seems that there is no Siddhanta that is higher than the principle of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. In fact, no other Siddhanta even seems true.
So this is actually purifying all of these sampradayas by saying this, because they had the conception of Vastu Parinamvad. And Mahaprabhu has purified it with Shakti Parinamvad. It is the Shakti that is transforming.
Only when one accepts this philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda can one realize the eternal individuality of the Jiva and his eternal difference from Sri Hari.
We can appreciate this also. Like, we should not try and merge into a general consciousness with others. I've said this many times. We should appreciate our own speciality, our own individuality. We are following so many rules and regulations, etc., say in a life or something like that, but still at the end of the day, you have your own individual soul, and it's your own soul that has to realize these truths. If someone else realizes these truths, they can't realize them for you. Just like a child walking, you want the child to walk, but you can't walk for the child. You make all the support system, etc., but you can't walk for that child. So without understanding this difference, the individual
Without
soul.
understanding this difference, the individual soul cannot attain the true goal of life, which is Preeti, love for the Supreme.
So how important is this? To absorb these teachings and to appreciate them. We're hearing them once, maybe first time, some people, but we need to hear them again and again and again, regularly throughout our life. When these questions come up, when they get raised in some assembly or some group, we should reference this 18th chapter for clarification. And next time we read it, say in a month's time or 2 months' time or even a year's time, you'll be amazed at how deep and thick your comprehension is of these topics. It will have had time to actually assimilate within the consciousness. It's not going to just turn on like that and happen. It has to actually gradually manifest by Krishna's mercy. These are transcendental topics.
Vrajanath, what is the evidence that Preeti is the ultimate goal for the Jiva? Babaji, it is said in the Vedas, Prano hi esha yah sarva bhuter vibhati. Mundaka
Wait a minute.
Upanishad.
This is going to be a very long answer, and it's already our time. I think I want to go into this topic. Well, this will take us to the end of the chapter. We'll discuss this tomorrow, because the question is about Priti. What is the evidence that Priti is the ultimate goal? What we've discussed is this Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. This is what we've just discussed. Tomorrow we will discuss this Priti. So just to keep the topics a little bit separate, I think will be easier for our comprehension. So tomorrow we'll do the subject matter of Priti, which is very ecstatic. So try to appreciate this Achintya Beda Tattva, and try to appreciate the many shlokas that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has taken the trouble and time to establish the supremacy and the authenticity. Without these praman, there's no authenticity. It's just speculative. Well, I think that, I think this, I think that. What does it matter what the conditioned soul thinks? It matters what actually it matters how the great rishis and sages have channeled from beyond this material world the absolute truth. This is apurushaya. It's not written by man. I've described many times, this was actually written, this Jaiva Dharma, in 2 months. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he scribed it, he wrote it in 2 months. This means that he completely was in his samadhi bhasya and just writing like this. This is all aparushaya. It's not written by man. It has no defect whatsoever. The more we read it, the more we study it, the more we appreciate it, the more we can understand its transcendental nature. And the more we understand its transcendental nature, the more we will be purified by it and be able to accept it and practically realize some of these truths slowly, slowly. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai. There should be many, many questions really about this topic, because it's very intense. It's very straightforward in one level. If you're already a devotee, if you're already a theist, and you have deep faith in Krishna, in Radha, in the holy Dhams, etc., then it's very, very simple. It's very, very straightforward. But if you've been influenced by other teachings and so on, by Advaitavadism, for example, which is still very prominent here in India, then it's going to be a challenge to replace that with the pure Shuddha Bhakti aspect. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.